A 14-year-long court battle finally ended in favor of a couple who fought to build on what environmentalists contend was protected wetlands. The U.S. Supreme Court's decision has enormous ramifications for the health of the nation's waterways. Here to help us better understand the case and the future of the nation's aquatic habitats is John Devine, Director of Freshwater Ecosystems with the NRDC, or Natural Resources Defense Council. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
So first, can you help us lay the groundwork and explain to us what the Sackett decision is all about?
You bet. A couple years ago, the Supreme Court reversed decades of federal Clean Water Act protections for most wetlands and many streams. It represented a radical rollback of the principal law that protects our waterways from pollution and other harms.
And the nation has some 70 million acres of these wetlands, precious, precious resources for nature, their habitats. But do you find that this Sackett decision, first of all, were you surprised by it? And second of all, do you think that this is really going to open up the doors for more development that could put these wetlands at risk?
Definitely. It was a gut punch, for sure. It was clear from the get-go that the Supreme Court's decision would dramatically reduce federal protections no matter what. But polluting industries have argued that the court's opinion should be read even more broadly to exclude the vast majority of wetlands, things like marshes and bogs, and streams. And so NRDC used mapping tools to analyze the impacts on the ground of different interpretations of the decision.
Mm-hmm. And where does the Clean Water Act come into play here?
The Clean Water Act is the nation's principal law that protects water bodies from pollution and filling in to develop and otherwise use water bodies. Wetlands are areas like marshes and bogs, and they're really important for water quality, flooding, and community health. They filter pollution and prevent contamination of drinking water sources for millions of people. They absorb flood water and reduce threats to public safety and property damage. And they provide habitat for a wide range of wildlife. So the Clean Water Act requires, before you dump something into a protected wetland, that you get a permit and you protect the water from the damage that your discharge would otherwise cause.
Mm-hmm. The NRDC's new GIS analysis shows that even under the least harmful interpretation of this ruling, that 19 million acres are at risk. So 19 million of the 70, you know, it just seems like it's a slippery slope. Once the 19 are gone, then, you know, even more could be at risk.
It's a staggering figure, and we're confident that that's even an underestimate. And when you look at the scenarios that line up better with the polluter's preferred reading of the court's decision, the threats are off the chart.
Mm-hmm. So if you had it your way, what would be a middle road, a happy medium that everyone could agree on?
Well, although they're very important and very rich ecosystems, wetlands only occupy around 5% of the acreage of the country. And so preventing their destruction or minimizing the harm when they are filled in is critical. And right now, unfortunately, the federal law that protects water bodies, the Clean Water Act, has been really hamstrung by the Supreme Court. So what I would love to see is for state leaders to step up and adopt strong protections for their own waters.
Okay. Well, John Devine, I want to thank you so much for your perspective, and we're going to continue to follow this. You know, I'm sure more developments are still ahead. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
We're back in 2 minutes.